Hello, everybody. It is me, Blake. And now, this time, we should most definitely get to do the interview with former USWA, United States Wrestling Association, ECW, WCW, WWF, and much more wrestler. He is formerly one half of the tag team with Wolfie D, also known as Slash, PG-13. He is JC Ice, also known as JB Dundee, also known as Cyberpunk Ice. So we'll just wait until he gets in here, and then we'll see if we can get him on here this time. So. Okay. So I see that you're in here, so I'll send you a request. So I'm about to send you a request to join, and then that request should appear on your screen, and you'll press accept or something, whatever it says. Okay then. Okay, for some reason it's not letting me send you the request, and I have no idea why. Okay, there. So I sent you the request. That should appear on your screen, asking if you want to join, and you will press accept or something like that. Okay, so then you press accept. Okay, send me another request because I seen that you requested, and I tried adding you, and it said I couldn't add you when for something. Okay. Okay, it says it's adding on the top of my screen. So there should either be something that popped up on your screen saying to join, or something on the bottom of your screen with a notification on one of those buttons down there on your screen. Yeah. And I tried accepting it, and it said that you were adding. So I've been sending you a request. Have you been, comment down if, because I've been sending you requests. Have you been getting something on your screen anywhere that I've been sending you requests to join into my live? Because if so, that is what you would have to click to join in. So so okay. So here, I'm gonna try it again, and you can try that again, I guess, because I don't know. Okay, so I sent it to you again, and you'll click join again or something. This is weird. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. For some reason, it is saying that you're in the live video, but I don't know. Okay, so it said the connection failed. So maybe send me a request again, and I'll try accepting it that time again. Yeah. Okay. So I see your request. So as I approve it, I don't know if something will appear on your screen where to approve it on your side as well. Because if it does, click it and something. I don't know. Okay. So I just sent you an invite to join again. So okay, so this is weird. Yeah, I see the ones that you're sending me. Okay. Okay, here
Looky,
we go.
looky there, looky there. I got it. I got it right.
There we go.
Hey, that's big stuff, man. Big stuff. Look at that. I did it all by myself too.
Yeah.
All right, let me put the phone up on this stand and see if we can make this happen. Too much the light too bright. Let me turn the overhead light off. Let's see. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. And let you see some of the, as my kids call it, my wife, I love Jamie room. It says you got all my I love me stuff everywhere. And then I have another camper outside in my yard that's full of I love me stuff too. And then I got my dad stuff over here. I don't know if we can see that. I love my dad stuff right over there, and my brother-in-law Bobby Eaton right there. Got Bobby's tights hanging up. They passed away. So it's just the I love me room. Well, hello, Blake. I made it, man. That's big stuff. Big stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. So,
Tell everybody Dundee showed up for you, man.
yeah, I mean, it took a while, but you know
Yeah.
what? We're
Hey, listen,
we're
better
here.
better to be late than not at all. Better to be late than not at all.
Yeah, definitely. So,
Okay, well, talk to me, man. How you doing? What's happening with you? What you doing? What do you want to be? Why you like the wrestling so much, man?
well, I like wrestling because it's just something that I really like and it's awesome and stuff like that.
True that. True that. It's really awesome and fun when you go on the road and get paid to kick ass, take names, and hug women and kiss babies.
Okay.
This phone on the stand. I'm gonna put this phone on the stand, man. See if I can make this happen. If it hangs up or something, man, I'm not responsive. I have to call back or something. All right, let me see. I think I got it going on. Should I stand it straight up and down, or should I leave it sideways?
Either one that works for you better.
All right. Because The Rock would say, turn it sideways, you shove it up your candy ass. All right, let's go to work, man. What's happening with you? What are we talking about?
All right, so I'll start off by my first wrestling question.
All right, excellent.
So, when did you start doing wrestling and what made you want to do it?
Well, of course, my father being superstar Bill Dundee, that's definitely one of the reasons I wanted to be a wrestler. But then my sister married beautiful Bobby Eaton of the Midnight Express, and when I watched Bobby in the ring, I'm like, hell yeah, I want to be like my brother-in-law. So that's what made me really want to start. And I guess I've been in wrestling my whole life because, like I say, my daddy came to America to wrestle, and I had to come with him because I was only 4. So we came to America, and all the wrestlers used to give me dollars to because I spoke Australian and I had a crossed eye, and they would give me dollars to go tell Kamala to go fuck himself. So that's how I started. I was like, I can do this for the rest of my life, man. I kind of like this, and that's how it began.
Yeah. What age were you when you like officially knew you wanted to become a wrestler?
I mean, it was kind of like, growing up as your daddy is a wrestler and he's on TV and your brother-in-law's on TV every week. It was automatically planted in my brain that I probably wouldn't be nothing else but a wrestler. But I was about a 13, 14, somewhere in there when my daddy opened a wrestling school, and I kind of didn't have no choice. It was everybody body slam Jamie, everybody backdrop Jamie, everybody drop kick Jamie, everybody do everything to Jamie because I was the dummy. My dad wasn't gonna get in the ring. He just keeps all the money, right? So he said, everybody body slam Jamie, everybody drop kick Jamie, everybody suplex Jamie. So I would just take suplex after suplex or body slam after body. So about 2 years after that, when I was about 15 or 16, my daddy said, boy, you ain't gonna be a damn doctor. I can tell you're still in 8th grade, so I think I need to take you on the road and teach you what I know. And so that's when I really started to become a wrestler.
When you watched wrestling as a kid, or even like attend shows with your dad and brother-in-law, who was your favorite wrestler growing up besides your father? And who did you try like mimicking all the time and stuff like that?
I guess my favorite wrestler would have to be, of course, my dad and my brother-in-law, which is a given. My brother-in-law was the greatest wrestler in this business. Bobby Eaton was hands down the greatest worker in our business. Shawn Michaels said it, and Stone Cold said it, and a million others have said it. So Bobby was always my hero. But I guess when I was about 20 years old, man, I tell you, somebody that really just swooped me off my feet was Rey Mysterio, man. When I saw Rey Mysterio perform for the first time, I was about 20 years old. And I said, holy shit, look at this guy right here. And a friend of mine named Mike Anthony, Mike Lozansky, he was from Canada. He had come to Memphis. He had just left Mexico. And he's like, you want to go to Mexico? You want to meet that? I'm like, hell yes. That dude is he's so graceful. He looks like he's at ease. He looks like he doesn't even have to put no effort into it. He just glides the guy. So that was one of my, I guess if you say I was a mark for Rey Mysterio. I was like, wow, this dude is awesome, man. So Rey Mysterio, I would have to say, is probably one of the very few people in my immediate family that I was like, wow, man, this dude is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Who is your favorite wrestler to watch, like nowadays, if there's anybody?
I mean, really, I haven't watched wrestling in 20 years, and the reason being is because I mean, it's nobody's fault. It's just garbage. I mean, it's so I mean, there's no rhyme or reason. There's no. It's just I don't know. I haven't watched it in a long time because it's not the guys' faults or the girls' faults because they only know what they are taught, but there's nobody to teach them. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
mean, it's unless they go back and watch old school wrestling tapes and this that they don't nobody has a clue about angles and drawing heat and that because as they say it's become script right and they hire somebody to write a script. Well, you can't write a script for me because you don't know how I would handle that situation. JCI's Jamie Dundee is not going to handle the situation the way the guy from Hollywood has written it down. So therefore, it's going to be not believable. So therefore, it's terrible. It's bad to watch, man. It's hard to watch.
yep. Who were your wrestling trainers?
My trainers would of course be, I guess, myself really, because like I say, my dad was our trainer, but he would just say everybody body slam Jamie, everybody do whatever to Jamie, and then when it became, then of course I would do it to the other people too. So therefore, I was learning to wrestle and being trained. Except my dad wasn't going to get in there and take no bumps. He was already 45 years old, 50 years old, so he's like, Jamie, get in the ring and take a bump. So I guess the training would have just came throughout life, though, really, because my dad used to always come in my room, sometimes drop elbows on me in the bed when I'm asleep, and or always put me in a hold. Or so. I mean, I guess I've been training since I was 4 or 5 years old.
Oh, wow. Who has been the stiffest wrestler you've gone in the ring with so far in your career?
Ooh, I would have to say the Eliminators, man. When the Eliminators were stiff, bro. Perry Saturn and John Cronus were beasts, man. And I even let them come stay with me because, they weren't making hardly no money in Memphis. And, they were just starving to death, trying to survive, trying to get a break. And they got one at ECW. But, brother, whew, them boys were stiff, man. They were, I tell Wolfie every night, it was like a bar fight, man. I'm like, shit, I've been in easier bar fights than going to the ring with Cronus and friggin' Perry, but they actually are two of the guys that made me and Wolfie, as far as the people were concerned, believable to be tough because they knew them guys were kicking the shit out of us. So, like the boys is rough right there. PG-13 can handle it. So I guess in a sense it paid off for us, but definitely the Eliminators were stiff, man.
Yep. Did you ever do school or amateur wrestling as a kid?
No, no, no. I never did amateur. I always thought amateur wrestling was too slow and too boring. In wrestling, what we do, like my dad's wrestling schools, he teaches you how to wrestle. He teaches you how to reverse holds and end up in drop toe holds up to headlocks. He teaches you which can really work and would really work if the other guy, if we weren't working, if this was a shoot, we could still know how to wrestle. So my dad would teach us that. But as far as if you get two real good wrestlers in an amateur wrestling match, that shit is so boring, but it's so good because one is any little mistake and the other one's on top of it. So you know what I mean? So,
Yep.
but they are boring when you get two great guys in there that know how good they are. It's pretty dull. That's actually how wrestling became, as they call it, fake or a work or whatever you want to call it. That's how it became that way because the promoter said to George Hackenschmidt and the other guy, I said, listen, you both are great. Y'all have wrestled for 4.5 to 5 hours. The people are getting up and leaving. Nobody's. So why don't we do this? Why don't next let you win, George, in like 2.5 hours? And that's how wrestling became fake, script written, or whatever you want to call it. They were two real good wrestlers, and they said, come on, just let the other one win this time. And that's how wrestling became that way. So it was just way too slow for me, man. I lived a fast life.
Yeah. What do you consider to be your weakness in wrestling?
You mean in the wrestling hold, or what was my weakness? Women and drugs, I guess, would be a weakness in wrestling. But as far as in the ring, my My weakness would have been just being the littlest guy. You know, I was smaller than my old man. You know, my old man's a little guy, but as far as being the little guy would have been my weakness. But as far as in the real wrestling world, the weakness would have been drugs and women.
What about a strength in wrestling?
Well, that would have to go to as far as I mean, I could fly with the best of them. You know, as far as high fly, do whatever. But honestly, my talking ability would definitely. I could talk, bro, and hell, if I'd talk and Wolfie work, get to work, because I mean, I'm definitely a hell of a microphone man, so I could sell an ice cube to an Eskimo, as they would say. So I would say that definitely my high point.
Yep. Is it or was it hard traveling from show to show? And what was the worst thing about traveling from show to show?
You know, it never to me it was never terrible because it was just what we did. It was our job, and I liked the different place, different town every. Even though for the all 6 days in the week we were in the same town on Monday, the same town on Tuesday, the same town, but we're always in Memphis, Louisville, Evansville, and Nashville. So it makes it a little different as far as because the storylines you have to keep the people entertained,
Mm-hmm.
because we go to the exact same town, the exact same people come. You got to sell them a ticket, so you better be doing something right. But I loved it. I loved because by the time you got back to the town, it'd been a week, and everybody's happy to see you, and you're happy to see them. And then I loved it. The only downfall about it was you couldn't have a family at home because it wasn't fair because you never was at home. So I mean, they just sat there and waited on you, and you never. I don't know that would be the bad problem. Having children and wives, and then trying to balance the fun entertainment part, and just that would be the downfall. Would have been being married and things because they suffer, not you. You know.
Mm-hmm. Who was your first opponent in front of a crowd, and how did you feel going into that first match?
My very first opponent. See, when the first time I ever was ever on a scene in television or anything, it was in Knoxville. I was a manager. I just came out as a little heel manager with my dad and the Rock and Roll RPMs in a company called USA that ran in Knoxville. Ron Fuller on it. But my very first opponent in Memphis was downtown Bruno. I was Bill's boy, the good guy, 16 years old. The people were thrilled. And then, but my very first opponent was when I was in Knoxville and I was a heel. It was a little midget by the name of Butch Cassidy. And let me tell you something. That midget threw me all over that building. I never really been, like I said, I've been at my dad's wrestling school for a year or so. Hey, everybody body slam. But this little midget said, just go, me boy. And he threw me all over that building. But we had a hell of a little match. And so my first official match, I guess you would say, would be Butch Cassidy, the little midget in Knoxville, Tennessee, in the Knoxville Coliseum. And then my first one in Memphis was downtown Bruno because, he was the little weasel heel manager and I was Bill's good old boy. So
If you could go back in time and wrestle anyone that has passed away, who would that be?
wow, that's a hell of a question, bro. Nobody's ever asked me that question. If I could go back in time and wrestle anybody, man, that's a hell of a question. I do believe for the entertainment value and for where I grew up in Memphis, I would have to say the fabulous Jackie Fargo would have been the guy I would go back and wrestle because Fargo was he was such a great character. Like he played Santa Claus when I was 4 years old. He came to my house dressed as Santa Claus, and I ran out there with the milk and cookies, and I went to give them to him, and he pulled his beard down, and he said, "Santa wants whiskey, boy." And he let that beard go, and I ran back in there, and I said, "Mama, Santa don't want these milk cookies. He wants whiskey." So we got Santa some whiskey, but he was such just a over the top type of character person, For him to do that for my family, it would be like The Rock or The Undertaker or somebody just coming to a little guy's house and playing Santa Claus for them is about the equivalent of this man playing because he was such a mega star in the 70s. And so I would say Jackie Fargo definitely. I would just love to go back and get in a little angle with Fargo, baby.
Yeah. Who is or was like your top dream opponent?
Well, I would have to say the Road Warriors of WrestleMania. I can't get much better than that. That was some great shit. But as far as me and Wolfie and wrestling too, got the Rock and Roll Express definitely. Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson definitely. You know, my whole life growing up as a kid, they wrestled against my brother-in-law Bobby and Dennis, and then Bobby and Stan. You know, Rock and Roll Midnight Feud went for many years. And I just for them to wrestle them dudes was just that was man when me and Wolfie worked with them in Louisville Gardens and they put us over that really moved us to the next level of wrestling. The people said, "Wow, these kids are pretty good. They just beat the Rock and Roll Express, man." I mean, that was kind of like, oh, you know, Andre passing the torch to Hogan in our company. Rock and Roll letting us go over was big shit, man. And so, and that was always when I was a little kid. I wanted to wrestle with them, with the Rock and Roll or with the Midnight Express, you know.
Definitely. Who is someone you would like to re-wrestle that you've wrestled before?
As far as in a tag match situation, as far as me and Wolfie, definitely either the Rock and Roll Express or the Midnight Express for sure. Those two are the cream of the crop in my world where I grew up. And then as a single wrestler, I would have to say I would like to wrestle New Jack.
Mm.
And I would just like to wrestle New Jack because he's not here to answer back and say he's coming over. So definitely New Jack. That's a hell of an answer. It makes me one up. Yeah, okay.
Who is your three top favorite opponents in your career for tag team and singles?
Definitely, definitely. I mean, just the Smoking Guns would have to just because of the factor that was our first shot in Raw, and then of course the Road Warriors because it's WrestleMania, baby. That's the top of the world. It don't get no better than WrestleMania. And then definitely the Rock and Roll Express, as I say. I mean, I can't stress how much Ricky and Robert putting me and Wolfie over meant in our careers for real. You know what I'm saying? And it's you won't have that no more because it's not the same no more. Wrestling's not like that no more. But you know, the Rock and Roll Express, it wasn't about tough guys or attitude. It is about respect, and for them to have enough respect for me and Wolfie, to knowing me since I was 4 years old, to put us over was really really meant a lot to me, man, for real.
Mm-hmm. Do you usually get along or become friends with most of your opponents?
Well, in in some way, you're just acquaintances. The only time you see a lot of these people is when you enter an arena, but there is bonds and friendships that are made throughout life that once, as I've always said, we can go years without ever seeing another brother, and then when you see him, it's like you just saw him yesterday. It just everything. It just. I mean, it's like it's like, hey, bro, God, how you? It's like you did. It's like you saw him yesterday, man. But definitely, it's a bond and a brotherhood. Like anything that is successful has to be a bond and a brotherhood. You know what? When you draw money in the wrestling business, when you got 12 men on the card, all 12 men must click. From the first match to the main event, it must click. It must be right. And that's the difference in drawing money or just coming to town once every 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months with a bunch of names and call it a wrestling show. You see what I'm saying? We had to
Yep.
go to the same building every single week. We went to the same building: Memphis on Monday, Louisville on Tuesday, Evansville on Wednesday, and Nashville on Saturday. For 40 years, my family did that. My father came here in '75 and did that, and then I started in '88. My brother-in-law Bobby, and and to do that and to keep people coming back to that building to see you perform, that is wrestling. That is working. That is how it is an opera. It is a theatrical opera. And if I can bring the same people back to that building to see me again and again and again, I must be doing something right.
Yeah, definitely. So if you could make a Survivor Series match, including you with four wrestlers from current or past, who or which four wrestlers would you choose as partners?
Well, definitely, because to me, this would be bringing them back. And it would be Grandmaster Sexy Brian Christopher. It would be Tracy Smothers, and it would be my brother Mitch Wright, Carl Mitchell Bell. Those three men would be my partners because I can bring them back. You know what I mean? And if I can bring them back, that's good shit to me. So those are the three I would have.
Yeah. Would you rather be in a street fight or death match?
Depends on who the death match is with. If it's a Necro Butcher or Man Pondo, I'd rather be in a street fight. But if it's Raven wouldn't be right. I would do one with Raven before I'd be in a street fight. So it depends on who the opponent is. You see what I'm saying?
Yep. Or definitely New Jack. You probably wouldn't want to be in a.
No, no, no. I had love for Jack at one time, and he had love for me. And when he died, I guess we weren't on the greatest of terms, but I didn't want him to die. So you know what I mean? I didn't have no hatred for him. It's one of them. It is what it is, you know.
Yeah. Would you rather be in a blindfolded match, handcuffed to your opponent, or dog collar?
I, being in the entertainment part of wrestling, would much rather be in a blindfold handcuff because that can be really fun. That can be entertaining as hell. On the end of the dog rope, you're going to have to punch each other in the face and get a little juice or what. With a blindfold, I can make this very entertaining and nobody will get hurt. We can do it in every town all week long.
Yeah. Is there any piece of merch that you have or had that has sold out pretty quickly?
Well, see, that's in our day, that is the only way we survive. You know, honestly, when you were wrestling first, second, third match, if you didn't go out there and hustle your pictures and hustle your shirts to make them, to grab an extra $100, $200 a night, then you didn't go home with nothing. You know what I mean? So that is how my whole life, my family survived. You know, my daddy bailed himself out of jail one time with a bag of quarters from selling 50-cent pictures. I mean, for real. So, I mean, that is how we live. That is how you've heard lots of stories probably from lots of wrestlers that in the Memphis territory, if you weren't a Jarrett or a Lawler or sometimes a Dundee, they kept all the money. Everybody else just had to survive, but you learned how to perform in front of people, and you learned, and people that would critique you, because like I say, them same people are in that building for 30 years straight, man. They've seen everything. So you better be good enough to, or they'll let you know. So yeah, that way you could sell them a picture. That's how you had to survive, man, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Is there any time a fan has seen you in public and got super surprised and or excited?
Many times. Matter of fact, it's pretty funny to say, but just yesterday I was walking into the dollar store in this little country town, and this gentleman says, "Man, you look like Bill Dundee." And I said, "Yes, sir, that's my father." And this gentleman stopped. His name was James, and he said, "Really, Jamie Dundee?" And I go, "Yes, sir." He said, "Oh, you don't understand how much this is making my day." And I'm like, well, I'm glad to know that, man. I'm glad to know I make somebody's day, man. I said, but I appreciate it, James. And he's like, "Man, you just don't understand. I used to watch you and your daddy for years, but I'm only about 30 miles from Evansville, the town we was at every Wednesday. So a lot of times I see people, but like I say, most of these people, you know them like like your ball coach or something, because they're in the building once a week. You see them for your whole entire life. If they're not there, then oh my God, that old lady Miss so-and-so sick, or somebody's not, well, I can't believe she's not here. How come? To get the front row seat in Memphis wrestling territory, you had to wait till somebody died. When somebody died, then you could get a front row seat. If not, you weren't getting that seat because they had that seat every week.
Yeah. Who is your favorite horror character and horror movie?
Man, my favorite horror character would definitely be Jason Voorhees, man. I think dude is just a beast, bro. I've loved this since I was a little kid. That's Jason Voorhees would have to be my choice. And Freddy Krueger was really close right there as far as because I grew up in a gimmick world. Everything was a gimmick, you know. Everything, every person I ever knew growing up, they didn't have no normal names. You know, their names was Boogie, and their names was the King, and then the Superstar, and the R&R. I mean, so everybody, you know, everybody was a gimmick. But my favorite horror gimmick would have to be Jason Voorhees, and Freddy Krueger be a close second.
Yeah. What is generally your favorite music to listen to in your spare time?
Rock and roll, heavy rock and roll, man. I'm all into the Disturbed, and the louder the better, man. The heavier the better. Now I do like Jelly Roll, Struggle Jennies, that type of country rap, whatever you want to call it. I enjoy Tom McDonald, you know, Adam Calhoun. I like that. I'm up to the new genre. I got a 14-year-old daughter, so I got to stay up to date with the new, pretty good stuff, you know, the new genre. But me, myself, personally, I'm into heavy, fast rock and roll, man.
Yeah. What do you think about Slipknot?
Love them. Seen them 3 times already in concert. Matter of fact, last night they had a concert here. It was matter of fact, I'm going to Nashville. When am I going to Nashville, woman? I'm going to Nashville next week to see Falling in Reverse. God, everybody's there, man. There's so many there, I can't even think of the name. You know what I mean? But I'm going to Nashville next week to see all of them. But last night was Motion in yes, something motion in Disturbed. No, I don't know. But anyway, last night there was a hell of a concert. My daughter went. My 20-year-old daughter went, and so we're definitely into the rock and roll scene.
Yeah. Were you thinking about Motionless in White?
There they are, my friend. Motionless in White, and they're opening up for them. They had 4 bands there actually,
Oh,
but
wow.
opening up was I lost. I can't remember. It's Motion in White, and so who else? I'm just hollering at my kids. They may answer, they may not. Who knows, man? They don't pay no attention to me, you know.
If you got to choose the stipulation for your match, what stipulation would you choose?
I would choose. Well, depends on what kind of match it is. Is it a you know, a lumberjack match? Is it a pole match? Is it a cage match? Is it the stipulation? My favorite matches to do was anything to do with the crowd. If the crowd got to be involved, like lumberjack strap matches, anything that lets the people come into the match, man, to me was my favorite. I loved it. Only when I was the babyface, because you know it sucked being a heel in Memphis, rolling out the ring, getting whipped by them strangers. But I mean, as far as yeah, I always liked anything entertaining. Because to me, when you go to a wrestling show, you know, now especially now, it's not every match is the same. You know what I mean? The first match starts out and it does everything that the main event does. You know, in our day, it started out kind of, you know, with action packed to get the crowd up, and then it slowed down into entertainment, and then just whatever dog food match or just gimmick matches, and then the main event for the big superheroes. You know, but anything to let the people get involved, because like I say, when you got to go to the same building every day, every week on the same day for 30 years, you better be able to think of something to let the people stay wanting to buy it.
Yep. What was the funniest thing a fan has said to you before?
Man, I've heard so many things. I mean, I, I have heard Jamie Dundee, this is your baby, and it be black. And I was like, yeah, he's like, that ain't your baby Dundee. I'm like, I know, I just don't even know this girl. But I mean, there's just people. I don't know, wrestling fans especially. They say some of the damnedest things. And you can't convince. It seems like you can't convince them no different. They'll tell me things about me that I'll say, well, that's not right, and they'll be like, yeah, it is. I mean, you cannot convince them that is not true. I've heard so many things, man. That's a hell of a question, bro. That threw me off. I was like, I have heard so much. Ain't no telling, bro. Ain't no telling at all.
What has been a best fan compliment you have received either at like a show or convention?
Very well. You know, I've only started these convention things like this year, basically, really, because I myself just kind of thought conventions were, as far as just come look at me now. This is like a cow in a damn auction bin or something. Here, this is all I got. This is me, and poke me with a stick for $1 and go on home or something. I don't know. I just thought it was a place that it, like, you send the old to die is what it seemed like to me. A whole bunch of old people just sitting around trying to get one more dollar from a picture or something. I don't know. But now that I've been to a few, I understand that it's not about the wrestling. It's about the fans who would like to meet and greet and see you, and so the conventions are something new to me. It's not, I'm used to going to a place, getting a certain amount of money, performing, and going home. With a convention, it's crazy. They want to give you a certain amount of money, and then you can sell a certain amount of things. And I don't know. I still ain't figured it out yet, man. I don't know. The conventions they're okay to me. There's no bumps. You don't have to go. You don't have to fall down. So I guess that's the best thing about it.
Yeah. Which wrestler has given you the best advice and or compliment?
Man, that would, I guess the compliment, like I say, would be the rock and roll. That's a compliment in itself to put you over. Jerry Lawler put me over. When big name people put you over, in our world, in our territory, it means something. When you would go to a show, we would enter the building. We already knew that we were winning because we're PG-13, and for us to let somebody else win was a privilege, just as it was when I entered the building and it says the rock and roll versus PG-13. Well, we know we're losing. that's just how it's going to go. And then for them to say, no, here we'd like to let you win, it's like, wow, man, that's pretty good stuff. And so that's one of the greatest compliments in my world from my time and there is the guy above you putting you over. That's a hell of a compliment. It's something earned, not something just done because it's Friday night, we're running a wrestling show.
Yeah. Did you like being a heel or babyface more in wrestling?
Just depends on the money. I like being a heel because I was good at it. Plus, you didn't have to fuck with nobody if you didn't want to. If you didn't feel like dealing with nobody that day, you didn't have to. When you're the baby face, you have to, because that's how you make your money. You got to go out there and hustle and shake hands and kiss babies and hug ladies, and that's how. So they both were actually in our world. That's how it goes. You're a baby face so long, then when you just can't take it no more, fuck it, you switch heels, so you ain't got to deal with nobody. And then you do that for a few months, and then you say, all right, I'm ready to I'm back, I'm normal or whatever, and then you turn baby face and come back. I mean, it was kind of like when you got so to the point you just couldn't stand the people no longer, you really switched to be a heel, and that way you didn't have to talk to nobody if you didn't want to.
Yeah. Was there ever a time in your career you ever got kicked out of a wrestling show you were wrestling at?
Many times. I got. Do you mean by the promoter and the company, or do you mean by the person that owns the building or the church foundation, or because I mean there's been many stipulations on reasons I have been asked or escorted out of buildings, but some was because of the promotion and some was because of the people putting on the show. But yes, definitely in my career, maybe about 2 or 3 times that I can know of that I was definitely asked to leave, and it was a big ruckus and a whole lot of trouble. And back in my wilder, younger days, you can see one of them online. The called Jamie Dundee does a Mississippi riot or something, where they all hit the ring, and we were definitely asked to leave, and the guy would never bring us back. And he said he was worried about our life. I said, I ain't worried about my life. The building's full. We'll make a bunch of money. And he didn't want to have no part in it. So yeah, about 3 or 4 times I was actually asked to leave that wasn't part of the show.
Yeah. Was there any time you hit a fan or wanted to?
Yeah, a couple times in life, because as I say, in Memphis, they when you're a good guy and you switch to become a heel, some people's feelings really get hurt. They really do, because like I say, they're in that building every week and they're in that place and they feel like they know you. They feel like you are part of their family. They bring you presents and they see you every week and they tell you stories about their children, and they tell whatever while they're buying a picture. They literally do. And so And when you switch on, just say I turned on my dad, and man, some of them people definitely take that to heart, man, and they don't understand why I would just do that to my dad. And so, yes, I have definitely punched a fan or two, and I've had a fan or two definitely punch me. But that is when you're doing your job so good that people get the ring on you, man. You're really a damn good entertainer, because that's what we're doing. And I don't mean by just looking at somebody in the crowd going, "Hey, your old lady's fat and ugly." I mean, that's called cheap heat. In our world, that's called cheap heat. It really don't mean nothing. Anybody will get up out of a seat and holler at you if you tell them their old lady's fat and ugly. But as far as if you just go to the ring and do something to somebody and then you run back and people want to fight you, you're definitely selling your product. You're doing your job.
Yep.
That's called psychology in the wrestling business. And that's something you can't teach. It is something that either comes out of you, and it's just like Jimmy Hart was one of the greatest in the world, because he would never get out of his seat until he jumped up and give the chain or whatever, 1, 2, 3, and then they would run away, and the people would be so angry, man, because they knew as soon as Jimmy stands up, it's something he's going to cheat, and he would just sit there and never say a word and jump up and do the screw and tell the people on TV how great he was. And let me tell you, brother, that dude was one of the greatest at definitely getting heat for not saying or doing anything, really, just sitting there. But they knew when he got up, it was over.
If you could wrestle for any wrestling company right now, what company would that be?
I would have to say, if I could wrestle for you, talking about any company that's around right now,
Yep.
or any company in the world. Okay, right now I would wrestle for AEW just because I haven't, and just
Yep.
because Dustin Rhodes probably owes me a booking, because he lived in my house when we were kids, and he was 19, and him and my dad was partners or something, and we was all hanging out in Dundee land, so he owes me a booking. He probably ought to book me anyway. Him and his little brother. I don't know his little brother, but I know Dustin real well. He used to beat my friends up in 8th grade because we smoked pot. My sister and my mom would say, "Dustin, go beat up Jamie's friends because they all smoke pot." So Gold Dust would come down and beat my friends up. So I'm like, "That sucks. Quit beating my friends up, Dustin." He'd say, "Your friends ain't no good. They're dopers." I'd say, "So what? You smoke pot." But it's just, it was just because my mom and dad told me to beat my friends up. And he was a big old boy, 8th grade. He was a lot bigger than us. So
What has been your most favorite wrestling company you have wrestled for?
definitely the USWA, because of the family values and the family, how far back it. But as far as having a good time and just balls to the wall, definitely the ECW, definitely a Hardcore Heaven '97. Jenna Jameson and the Dudleys against PG-13. Mama Dudley's still a hoe, but definitely ECW.
Would you rather join DX, NWO, APA, or BWO?
Uh,
Like what?
Definitely for DX, for the party time and the fun time and the rock and roll, and then just and the BWO too. I wouldn't join the NWO. They were all just a bunch of old washed up has-beens just trying to make a dollar at that time. I wouldn't join none of them. They were all sucking idiots. But it definitely would be DX, and then followed by the BWO. Baby, got me a little blue meanie. Definitely little. I would join that in that order. The other two, they're irrelevant,
Yeah.
because APA, that would have to be Farouk, right? He was my leader at one time, so I can't. I wouldn't go backwards and let him. So definitely, it would definitely be the DX followed by BWO, and the other ones they can just have them.
hmm I feel like you'd make a perfect fit for BWO.
Oh yes, beauty. Oh yes, definitely. I would stand my mohawk up and paint it blue and just call me JC Ice Blues or something. Hell, I don't care. I would definitely love to hang out. But those are all good guys, man. Those are good people. They're good people before they put the blue world in, and with the blue world, they just made them even better, man.
Yeah. Would you rather join Four Horsemen or Evolution?
Four Horsemen, 100%. I don't even know who Evolution is. Four Horsemen for sure, all day long.
If you could have any band or singer perform your theme song, who would you want that to be?
Elvis Presley. Definitely. I would want the king to, oh, here he comes, baby. I definitely Elvis Presley. I would want Elvis to sing me to the ring, man.
Yeah. What is the least favorite wrestling move to have happen to you?
Belly to back suplex off the top rope from one of the Steiners. Oh, I couldn't imagine. I'm not, not taking that. I don't want to ever take that. Oh my God, I can't imagine. But that would definitely, if any belly to back suplex, I hated them, man. I don't know why. Even just in the ring, I just hated them, man. I don't know. I always just crushed me. I caved all up and mushed me, man. I just never could get that down or something, or somebody just hurt all the time. I definitely hate that move.
What has been the hardest move you have tried to do on your opponent before?
Pretty funny to say, but the moonsault is the hardest freaking move I couldn't get the moonsault down. I tried at the swimming pool. My partner Wolfie could do it already, but I couldn't do the moonsault. I could do any other thing, but I just, for some reason, I could not get the moonsault down, man. I would always, same thing, I guess because it reminds me of the belly to back, maybe. I don't know, because just couldn't get around. I always land on the top of my head and on the back of my neck, and I was like, I'm not doing that no more.
If you could take any signature move from any other wrestler, what signature would that be?
As far as a real move or like a gimmick move, like Jake the Snake's DDT, we really know ain't gonna put you out. But I'm just saying, compared to Chris Benoit's front face crippler thing, you know what I mean? So, but if I could get steal any move or do any signature move, it would definitely have to be Bret Hart's sharpshooter, man, because that move's just so great. I mean, it's a hell of a little move, and plus, it is great when Brett puts you in it, it's over. So definitely, the sharpshooter would be one I would steal.
Yeah. What usually got you hyped for a match that you were going to be in?
The guy on the corner with $25 worth in the baggie. That's what usually got me hyped. But once I get to the arena, though, for real, I would go to the building. And, I wasn't really a working out type of dude, so I didn't work out in the dressing room or nothing. But just the hype of the crowd, the I guess the ambition, the ready to go. Just once my music hit, it's time to get in that mode. And then I don't know, I just once you go through that curtain, man, it's a whole different world, man. Everything. I guess as I used to always say, man, it was the freest place I could ever be, because when I was in that ring, nobody could do nothing to me. Nobody could touch me. Nobody could tell me nothing. Nobody could get to me, because that was my time. That was my world. And when I'm in them square circle, man, I'm hyped, baby. I'm ready, And then once you roll out, like I used to tell people, wrestling ain't fake, it's fixed. We know who's going to win or lose, but that shit hurts. And if you're in the middle of that ring, it don't hurt when all them people are screaming and hollering, and nothing hurts, man. You could shoot me with a gun, and it probably would hurt. But once you go back through that curtain, back into that dressing room, and then it all go, oh, shit, man, that like to kill me. That's when it all kicked in. But it wasn't to get me hyped, bro. All you had to do is hit my music, man, and it was time. It's kind of like you kick it on, kick it off.
Definitely. What was your favorite thing to do after all your matches?
Well, since you're only 15, I can't tell you this answer. What I did after every match is I go back to my hotel room, I'd take a shower, and I'd open the door, and there'd be a lot of people there. We'd all have fun. They'd come in, we'd party all night, and we'd go to bars or do whatever, and then we'd get up next morning feeling like shit, drive another 4 hours or whatever to the next town and do it again, because once you got in the ring and sweated all that toxins out of the next day, you swore you wasn't never going to do it again, and the next day, once you was sweating and ready to go, take a shower, it's 10:30 at night, now what are we going to do? And same old situation. But yeah, after every show, I didn't just go home. I definitely lived it to the fullest.
What has been your favorite venue you have wrestled at in your career?
In my career, I would say it depends on what company. The ECW arena, definitely, when you working for ECW, going to that arena was just over the top, man. It was just exciting as shit. And for definitely WWF, Madison Square Gardens, because that's the Gardens, baby. You know what I mean? That's the real, that's the Gardens, man. You know, and
Yeah.
in our town, Memphis was the big draw, but my favorite town in our company was Louisville. Louisville Gardens rock, man. It had all the pretty women. That's where the women came. I don't know where all the guys were in Louisville. They all moved out or something.
Has there been any time you have accidentally broken out of your wrestling persona?
I don't know. I don't know if because my persona is actually me in a sense. You know, my whole life in school and anywhere, I was always told to be quiet. I was too loud. I was always over the top. I was always, please sit down, Jamie, please. My whole life, and so my persona really is who I am. Except I turn it on and off. And we got a saying around my house that we don't let JC Ice out. See, JC Ice it is me, but you have to bring him out, and if you bring him out, we don't like it. it's rough. He don't care. He's crazy as fuck. But Jamie Dundee himself is which is pretty funny to probably say, but I'm kind of a quiet guy at home, at my own home, you know. So I guess I break out of my persona every day, and I guess I break out of it every day, but I break into it every day also. So I don't know. I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten embarrassed in a wrestling match due to due to a mistake or anything?
Well, it's like I say, the difference in their wrestling today and our wrestling was there weren't no mistakes because we didn't sit in the back and call the whole entire thing. We got an opener and we got an end, and the rest of it in between, we just did it. So in wrestling, if you go to body slam a guy and he drops behind you and rolls you up, is that a mistake? You see what I'm saying? If something like there's a video of me and Chris Candido and I do a cartwheel and I go to chop him and I miss him and he pushes me down and I take a bump, but see that was that a mistake? I don't know. It's only a mistake because he didn't know what was coming. Neither did I. I just did it, and I really did miss, and he pushed me down. So as far as a mistake, I don't even know if we make them because in our world we just go with the flow, man. If shit happens, you know. Your pants fall down, your zipper breaks, you blue, you know, whatever, man. I mean, just go. I got some pictures in my I Love Jamie room where I'm in the ring and my pants are down and my ass is shining and from a pole match, you know, it is, but it is what it is, man. You know, I was really hard. You can't embarrass me. No, I don't guess I've ever been embarrassed. I've
Yeah.
been in a Denny's one time, eating naked in a Denny's with Brian Christopher and a whole bunch of other wrestlers, and I'm just all naked eating in the Denny's, and I wasn't embarrassed then, so I don't know. I don't know if I can get embarrassed.
What has been the scariest / most dangerous incident in your wrestling career?
For I guess that's a hell of a question, man. I don't know if I've everything I've ever done I knew was coming, you know. So even though I don't know if it's dangerous or not because I know we're fixing to do it. So now, as far as like when Mankind was standing on the cage and he took the choke slam and it broke, that was dangerous. You know what I mean? Because he didn't know it was going to break. It could have killed him. Everything I've ever seems like I really can't. I guess doing power drivers through the tables and shit would be the most dangerous. Like Tracy Smothers hit me with a Coke bottle. You know, that was a real Coke bottle. I really took it 5 days in a row because they had 5 towns we had to do it in. But I guess I don't know because I guess the whole all of wrestling was dangerous, I guess. Really, I mean, taking a razor blade and getting a little juice on TV, you know, that's dangerous. And if you tell people you did that in the normal world, they would put you in a crazy home for cutting yourself, you know. So I don't know. I don't know if we've ever had a dangerous moment. They're all dangerous. Dangerous Doug Gilbert.
What has been the worst you have gotten injured in a match?
Um, when I was about 18 years old, 19 years old, we were doing an angle with Tojo Yamamoto and the Japanese guys Masatono and Fuji, and it was me and my dad and Lawler in a 6-man, and I was, supposed to get a little, as they would call it, get a little juice, get a little color. And man, I didn't never done it. I didn't know. And Jeff Jarrett kept making fun of me, telling me I couldn't do it. You can't, boy, you can't get no juice. And so I just took that thing and went like this, like 7 or 8 times, and I got like 85 stitches in my head. That shit was bleeding like a stuck hog, man. And people in the crowd were like tripping. They turned all the lights on. I thought it was great. I'm like, yes, it looks good. And they rushed me to the hospital and put 180 stitches or some shit in my head and sent me home. And I was like, well, that kind of sucked. So that was like, that would probably be the worst. We had to go home and tell my mom, I was only 19 years old, so we had to go home and tell my mom what the hell happened to me. So I dropped my phone, man. It's my bad. I'm
You're
sorry.
good. You're fine.
I wasn't prepared for these kind of things because I don't do many of these. But I did show up for yours, man, and I told you I would, by God, and I'm here. That's good stuff. Jamie Dundee showed up. Y'all see that, motherfuckers? I showed up because I wanted to, because I cared. Blake Show is the one I showed up for, not all you other motherfuckers. They're all a bunch of crybabies, Blake. They all shut up, man. But my buddy Blake, I made sure I wrote it down, put it on the refrigerator that I would be here for you, buddy.
Definitely.
I sent you the one, and you said that's not the right date. I said, oh, wait a minute, what are you talking about? I was like, oh, okay, it's something else. But I found it. I got it right, and we're here, so that's what matters.
Yep, definitely. What has been the worst pain you have caused on your opponent before?
I guess as far as and the worst pain, I would have to be putting up with me. Putting up with Jamie Dundee. That's a hell of a pain, some would say. Some would love it, and others would say it's a pain in the ass. But I guess, because like I say, we did it every day in the same buildings. But I mean, when new people come through the company, that's how you get a babyface tag team over, is you have to feed them different guys. And so when new people come through, you don't really know these people. You know what I'm saying? They're not part of the clique, because there's a mainstay of 10 guys, and then you feed them all, like you would feed Lawler 10 guys for 10 weeks, and then you would put him against Dundee, and you'd feed Dundee. So all these different people coming through, you got to kind of be on your guard, because you don't know if they're good enough to catch you when you fly off the top, or if, so you got to kind of just put a little paint on all of them, especially when they're new guys, because you don't know. You don't know if they're what they're about. You really don't. They may think they can wrestle, and they may have sent a tape in, and they look pretty good, but when you get in the ring with them, they're like, oh shit, these guys are terrible. So I mean, you got just wrestling in my world. Wrestling was more real than the Jerry Springer show was, anyway.
Back then, if you got told you couldn't medically wrestle for the rest of your life, what would you do?
What would I have done? I would have been the first Stephen Hawking wrestler. I would just come out in a wheelchair and just something like that, because I don't know nothing else. I don't know how to do anything but entertain. One time when I was going through jails, I was going in and out of jails or whatever anyway, and they let me out on parole, and they told me I had to get a 40-hour-a-week job. This is what it stated. I could not wrestle. I could not do Jerry Springer shows, and I could not play in movies. I must get a 40-hour-a-week job so they could garnish my wages to make me pay what they've said I needed to pay. And so I went to Walmart to get a job, and it did not last not even 4 or 5 days, because I am an entertainer, and that is all I know how to do. And halfway through the friggin' shift, I'm supposed to be stocking dog food, and I got all Halloween outfits and singing songs through the microphones in the whole store and all that. It's just it would have to be something with the entertainment world, because I know nothing else. I don't know how to do nothing else. I try all the time now at 53. I try to fix, the kitchen sink, or I can't do it. I physically can't do it. I can't. I've tried a million times. I just can't do it. So I just must entertain. That's all I know how.
Yeah. What is the longest you have had to stay out of action for wrestling?
Well, like right now, but I mean, that is by choice, because I just wanted to go away now. As far as injury wise, my longest time to stay out was about 6 to 8 weeks with a hip, tore my hip, yada yada. But now it's been 15 years, 12 years since I've got into a ring, so because like I say, I love wrestling. It is my family. It is me. It is who I am. But I hate it as much as I love it because I guess because it ain't like it used to be. And there's I just can't stand to go and listen to people discuss wrestling that don't know nothing about wrestling. Really, I don't know if I just egotistical, self-centered guy and think I'm better than all them or something. I don't know. Yeah, I just can't stand to sit into a dressing room or whatever you want to call it now and listen to these people talk when they don't have a clue what they're talking about. So I just have to stay away. Because when I do this, then like I say, JC Ice comes out, and like I said, we don't like to let that dude come around, man. He's crazy.
What are some of the wrestling championships and achievements you have won so far in your career?
Well, definitely a 16-time USWA World Tag Team Champion. That's 15 times with Wolfie and one time with my dad. The XCW World Heavyweight Champion. Me and Wolfie won the belts. I have lots of different companies. As a matter of fact, all over the world actually. As far as went to Mexico, and just being able to go, just being able to pick the company you want to work for and call them and say, hey, I want to come work for you, and they're like, hell yeah. That's I mean, to me, that speaks volumes on what me and Wolfie could do or did do, or I did on my own, or he did on his own, because it's hard to not many men will get to say they walked the WrestleMania aisle. You know what I mean? WrestleMania may be on WrestleMania 40 or whatever they're on, but it still ain't but 120 guys walk that aisle in the 40 years. You know what I mean? And
Definitely.
so just to be able to, I guess, to be able to just entertain and do it our way and the way we wanted to do it. And like I say, man, I don't know. I love wrestling as much as I hate wrestling, bro. I don't know. It brings out another side in me that it's not made for family values.
Do you feel like you, yourself, or PG-13 is worthy enough to be part of a wrestling hall of fame, like USWA or something?
Definitely believe that. I mean, like I say, man, I've been in the wrestling business since I was born. My daddy started wrestling in 1963 in Australia, and I was born in 1971. We came to America in 1975 when I was 4 years old. So I am my family. Yes, definitely. My brother-in-law, beautiful Bobby, should be in the Hall of Fame. My dad, superstar Bill Dundee, should be in the Hall of Fame. It doesn't matter as far as what you think about these kind of people as people. I'm talking about for us what they have accomplished in the wrestling world. Definitely,
Yes,
100%. But the Hall of Fame is so much bullshit that it's not even worthy enough to really. Who gives a fuck if you're in it? Because it's not. It's bullshit. It's bigger bullshit than the wrestling itself. You see what I'm saying? If they actually put votes out and they actually said, here, we want everybody to vote, and this is the 5 candidates, and you vote for the one, then definitely the Hall of Fame would be a Hall of Fame. But it's not. It's who the fuck ever they want to put in it because they feel like politically correct. Brickhouse Brown, that was my dude. The WWF put him in the Hall of Fame the year he died because they needed a black guy to put in the Hall of Fame. I mean, there's just no other way to fucking sugarcoat it. Brickhouse Brown never even wrestled for the WWF. He never even went to the WWF. But so I mean, it's bullshit. I get a letter once every I don't know, every about 3 times a year from the WWF that says, "Oh, the phone's dying, my boy. Sorry, man. Good interview. My bad, bro. It's shutting down."
okay, so we lost him. I am guessing his battery died or something. I don't know. Yes, he is gone. Well, that may be the end of the interview for now. There might be another time I might try to get him in for a part 2 of the interview. So we'll just have to wait and see on that. You never know. Um, but I'm guessing what he was using died. So yes, Rob. I mean, that is the best thing. So, all right. So I'm gonna go. Thank you everybody for joining. And if there's a part 2, I'm gonna try getting a part 2 with him, and so we can finish off the interview sometime. And I hope you guys enjoyed. So you guys this Friday when I have an interview with former AEWA wrestler John the Pistol Pistoka. This is a live in person interview, by the way, and it'll be here on Facebook Live around 2 p.m. EST, which is Eastern Time, so 2 p.m. Eastern Time here on Facebook Live. He had 2 matches in AEWA with Sergeant Slaughter and then a tag team match. You can try. Okay, so I'm gonna go contact him and see what's up. And okay, see everybody.